I'm Pappy Jack. Today's project is about bacon and some other things, but mostly bacon. It's not necessarily the brand name, although better brands seem to have prettier bacon. It's not adding something to it. It's how you cook it. So number one, you need a big old pan like this one. And if you're putting microwave bacon on your plate, you need to turn in your bacon card because you're not allowed to eat it anymore. So this bacon's only been on here for maybe 5 minutes on a medium-high heat pan. And you can tell that it's time to turn it over because it gets brown like that on the bottom. Not burnt, brown, you turn it over. And when the other side gets that color again, this color right here, you turn them over again. Because that's how you get crispy bacon without getting burnt bacon. And again, this isn't even like high quality bacon. This is store brand bacon. But it's gonna be good. When you pull your bacon out, don't let it sit in the pan. Put it on some paper towels to absorb the oils. Oh, and bacon grease is so good to save. Like you see in like old-timey books and stuff about the Depression and after that. But when you render down bacon like this bacon fat is gold. If you filter it out and then refrigerate it, you can use it as a starter for all kinds of other things. That is how much fat renders off of a piece of bacon. Shrink to half their size. You can see that I also used the assembly line method. Once the first bacon starts to come out of the pan, you just put the new ones in on one side and keep migrating them over to the other, because that way they're not on a spot that's too hot or too cold. I did it again. I folded my bacon. Both ends. And although you can't see me, trust me, I'm sticking my tongue out when I'm making this, so you know that I'm concentrating. It's going to be good. The concentration tongue. So once the fat is drained off of them, I mean, look at that. See if you can hear it. Right? Oh yeah. That is crunchy and good. And not burnt. The opposite of burnt bacon is floppy, uncrisp bacon, like the kind you get in hotel free breakfast. That stuff must have been taken from a lazy pig because it's not good. Or it'll be burnt to a crisp. And then it gets soggy. I don't know how they do that. It's terrible. Have you had floppy hotel bacon? Let me know in the comments. You don't have to tear up a specific hotel brand, because I've stayed in them all and they all do the same thing. They serve crappy bacon. Just tell me about your bacon. Or some other crappy free breakfast food. Because I'll tell you one thing, it's never fresh. It might have just been put out, but it was taken from a container that was on a truck for about a week and a half. What I'm going to do with this rendered fat today is it'll be the starter for the potatoes that I had already cut. Home fry style, little squares, that are now thawing out in the sink, because when I cut them, so before potatoes get all mushy and just turn into compost instantly, if you know that your potatoes are going to go, take them out, peel them, cut them up into whatever you're going to use them for in the end, whether it's fries, or you want to cut them into bigger chunks because later you're going to mash them. Just cut them up and freeze them. Put a date on the bag, put them in the freezer. They'll be just fine when they thaw out. That's what we did with these home fries. We couldn't get to a big bag of potatoes, so I cut them up, turned them into home fried potatoes, and put them in the freezer. Now they're just thawing out. Have you noticed how the subsequent pans of bacon cook a little bit faster? Because when there's enough oil in there, fat that's rendered, it surrounds the piece a little better, and so it starts to cook both sides instead of just one side. And it's not a bad thing to leave the oil in the pan. I'll probably add a little more oil to this pan. And I avoid using seed oils like canola, corn, grapeseed, or even soy. I use peanut oil because it doesn't do bad things to your body. Seed oils have a tendency to do things to your gut that you don't want. You can look it up. I'll use my oil and filter it and cap it and use it another time, because that's the other good thing about peanut oil, is that it's resilient and it holds up to heat. It doesn't burn, and it doesn't really absorb the taste of other things, unless you're doing fish. If you're doing fish, don't use that oil for anything else, because then everything else tastes. Just for like potatoes, or even if you're frying chicken. I'd say if you're frying chicken, it's only good for like one more use, but because of the fats in the chicken. But if you're frying potatoes, you can use it 2 and 3 times. It'll last up to 30 days, as long as you have it capped and filtered when you're done. It'll last up to 30 days, and then you can discard it accordingly. Here, and God forbid you throw it in the trash. Don't do that. Or dump it down the sink. Or you can throw it in the trash, just don't dump it down the sink. That's bad for your pipes. Look at that. Ho, ho, ho. Bacon, 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 bacon. I'm going to add some more oil to this pan. And then turn my heat back on. And for this, we want the heat on high, because the potatoes will take a lot of heat out of the pan as soon as they hit it. You also want to have your heat high before you put the potatoes in, because you don't want to boil the potatoes in oil. You want them to fry. And if you put them in the oil before it's hot, they come up to temperature with the oil and they end up just boiling, and it makes soggy potatoes. I think we're on a theme here. Breakfast food needs to be crisp, unless it's pancakes. I'm going to cheat here and see what the temperature of my oil is. Almost there. I'll use this because it's pretty accurate. So I got to get it up a little bit closer to 350. It'll only be another minute. Oh, I missed a delicious bit of bacon. Something else about rendered fat is that when you cook potatoes in it, or you use the same pan as your bacon, when you cook your potatoes, they pull up the bits of bacon that are in the oil, and they're not burnt unless your oil was too hot. There, we're in the green zone now. But they pick up those bits and they add great taste. Frozen potatoes, May 4th. Burner's all the way on high. Well, there's no burn. It's a heating element. But it's on high. The heating element is on high. The heating element is on high. Wipe off my splatters from the oil. It's going to happen no matter what you do. Now the oil's going to come back up to temperature, and then I'll turn the potatoes. So it's been about 5 minutes, and you can see that the heat's always going to concentrate in the center of that, but you can see that the potatoes are getting different amounts of heat depending on where they are in the pan. So we're going to make sure that this daycare gets along. And you can hear and see how the bubbling kind of settled down a little bit because now the colder potatoes are towards the middle again. You can also see that some of them get a little translucent when they're starting the cook process, which is good. They're releasing the water because it's about 50-50. I would say probably it is 50%. When the potatoes lose about 50% of their moisture from being raw, then the outside starches are in a spot where they can get crisp from the oil. So that's what we're waiting for. Oh, and this is just the first cook. I par bake potatoes. So you get them in there, you let them cook until most of them are translucent. I'm looking for a bowl. Most of them are translucent, and then you pull them and drain them off, and then you let the pan come back up to temperature again, and then you put them back in. You can do that with French fries too. I always do, because when you par bake French fries and then throw them back in, it makes them much crispier, and they're not soggy when they come out. I'm cheating. I'm eating it before everything else is done. If you don't like to hear people chewing, you might want to mute this. And for those of you that are into ASMR, you're welcome. Bacon. Washing off my temperature probe. If you were watching me do the dishes in the previous videos, I'm trying to keep ahead of it, because when the sink gets full, it's almost always my fault, because I'm making stuff so often. And yes, this is safe for up to 400 degrees, so we're fine. It won't melt. I do have a bigger metal one that I use when I'm doing deep frying with more oil. It's a restaurant grade one. Well, here, I'll show it to you. This one. You can order these online, or you can get them in restaurant supply stores. You'll see them use them like in Chinese restaurants where they have a big wok and they're shaking the wok and they have to scoop things out. They use this or a bigger one to get them out. And they're easy to wash. They're stainless steel. They hold up pretty well. I'll put a link in the description for you. It's only a couple of bucks. So now these potatoes are almost all translucent. So we're going to take them off the heat. We're going to let that oil come back up to temperature. Get in the frying range around 350. I'm not going to have to use the temperature stick again, the probe, because you'll be able to tell. It's when you hear somebody say smoke point, it's like right before that smoke point, or right when you start to see a little bit of smoke coming off the oil. Doesn't mean the oil's burning, it just means that it's at the right temperature. Just set these potatoes aside, let that oil come up to temperature, and I don't know if you can see, I think you can. Remember all those bits that were in here when we started? All those delicious bits are now stuck to the potatoes, which makes them taste great. Might be hard to see, but it's reached its smoke point because it's just barely starting. So we're going to carefully reintroduce the potatoes to the oil. That's the sound you want right there. You can probably hear the coffee percolator gurgling in the background. Can't have Sunday breakfast without coffee. They're starting to get a little brown now. Oh yeah, you can feel them too. They're getting a little bit more crisp. That's what we want. Rotate them around a little bit. Give them a few more minutes. It's only really been about 10 minutes, maybe 12 minutes since I started these. The heat's been high the whole time, by the way. Because the potatoes take so much of the heat from the oil, you just keep it on high. That's the kind of brown we want right there. So I'm going to turn that heat off temporarily because I'm going to reuse the pan. And we are going to get these delicious potatoes out of here. Listen to this sound. That tink sound means that they've got nice and crispy. Golden brown. So good. So I took the oil out of that pan, I wiped it out, and this is about 2 tablespoons of butter, probably about 3 butter pats. I still didn't turn on the heat again to the stove because I don't want the pan to get too hot, because we're going to do our eggs next. And you can use olive oil if you don't want to use butter. Butter is not bad for you, unless you eat it like a popsicle all the time. It's not bad for you. Margarine is terrible. Margarine's full of all kinds of chemicals and stuff. You can leave margarine in an open tub in a field, and the wildlife will not eat it. Not even bugs. So what do you think that does to your insides? And now that that's melted, I'm going to put this on low. I've heard people say that you should, if your eggs are refrigerated, you should let them come back up to room temperature before you put them in the pan. But if you cook it on low, everything comes up to temperature about the same time anyway. So I haven't had a negative experience with that. And something else to do when you're making eggs is there's two different parts of the white. If you break the thicker part of the white, the egg will cook more evenly. And if you don't like eggs, I'm sorry. Some people are just not into it. I'm going to save these eggshells for compost. Break up these thicker part. You can see how those two eggs that I just did in the front, how evenly they're cooking across the whole surface of the egg. And if you do season your eggs, I think the best time to do it is while it's still cooking. I always just lightly use some pepper and salt. Undone parts. I don't like eggs cooked hard, but I don't want the undone parts. I went to Ireland one time years ago, and they had a continental breakfast at the hotel where we stayed. And the eggs that they serve over there were woefully underdone. And I guess that's just the way people like them over there. Because when we asked if they could finish cooking them, and I was just 18 at the time. No, that was not ready yet. The staff was offended. So I was over there. It was actually a school trip, band trip. And the chaperones told us not to criticize the food anymore. So we didn't eat continental breakfast anymore. We just had cereal. Because I don't want no snotty eggs. When this toast pops up, I'll show you a butter cheat. Although I took the butter out of the refrigerator 15, 20 minutes ago and just let it sit on the counter so that it tempers a little bit, so it's not completely hard. When the toast pops up, you do this. Let it sit there for a minute. And that butter's for both pieces. I'm not overdoing it. Just turn it over. Okay. See what I mean? So it's spreadable. So the butter started out on this side. This was the bottom piece. And then I turned it over so that this side will get the butter. Now both pieces have just the right amount of butter. And I'm going to cut the toast. No, don't cut your toast that way. This is the way you cut toast. Triangles. Triangles. If you cut it any other way, you hate toast. I think we're ready to go. My producer slash wife has disappeared, so I guess I'm going to have to eat it myself. No, I'll wait for her.
bacon.